So I've been wanting to do a video for a little while about purchasing laptops. This is a question we get all the time. I want to buy a laptop, which one should I buy? Not as easy of an answer as you think. People just assume because we work in the tech industry that we just instantly have an answer for that, and there's not an easy one. Part of the problem is, it's kind of like saying which new car do I get? Until a car's been out for a little while, do you know if there's any problems with that model? You only can base it on a previous reputation of the company, and unfortunately from Dell to HP to a lot of companies, and HP's even resulted in class action lawsuits, they've had wonderful models, and they've had other models that failed. And they failed miserably to the point of the class action lawsuit. How long did it take to find out? Quite a while. The laptops barely lasted a year. So from the new model release to, hey, that's a crappy laptop, we know in the end which ones are crappy. But from the beginning, from the brand new, don't always know. But there's at least a few things you can go by to determine whether or not it's going to be a decent purchase. Now, I'm going to talk about, we have refurbished laptops here. One of the things about the refurbished ones is people go, Tom, how do you sell this refurbished Dell laptop for as much as I can go buy a brand new one at a big box store? Because when these were new, these were about $1,500, and it's all about how they're made and the speed within them. There are laptops for sale less than $300. I've seen some on sale at like Best Buy for like $229 and Walmart for $229. They're really horribly slow. Matter of fact, they're substantially slower than this 4-year-old Dell that's sitting right here next to me. It comes down to the components they use and then the build quality. A lot of it's a race to the bottom because consumers want something cheap. They look at them as disposable. The problem is they're unhappy with them as soon as they buy them because they're just right out of the box slow. Now, I'm going to get in a little bit of the design here. Now, this is based on one of the cheap ones, and this is the bottom panel. There's no metal in here, and that's actually why this whole piece over here is missing, is the system cracked. Just opening the lid back and forth caused fatigue and caused all the plastic. Now, the plastic's that brittle. It just shatters apart. It's that high impact ABS plastic that doesn't have a ton of flex for this, so it's pretty rigid, but it doesn't take much to crack these, and that's what happened. It's just breaking it right here. So these cheap laptops, they don't have this. Now let's go with something a little bit better like this Lenovo. And this is a little bit, generally Lenovo's are a little bit pricier, but not too expensive. And right away you notice metal framing. The hinge attached to a metal frame to distribute. Now it's still made of the cheap plastic. You can see it's real flexible. You can see I could probably break it, and there's a lot of flex in the frame still. Matter of fact, you can see the whole frame flexes quite a bit without the top on because they rely on a plastic on top and there to kind of build rigidity of it. But there's also no metal in this. So these screws are pressed in at the time of molding, so you have these kind of floppy screens, and that's what leads to screen breakage really easy on these. So if we take something like one of these Dells, I know this is an older model and it's kind of ugly. This is one of their business class ones. Note how there's no flex. Matter of fact, I can tilt back on the screen and it picks the laptop up. There's not a lot of give. It's really solid, but design-wise, it's a lot better. Now I have another one that I've got taken apart already, and that's this one here. And this is what they look like on the inside. You see, these are referred to as heat pipes. We have large heat sinks in here for one to help distribute the heat. You don't see that in the cheaper laptops. And this Lenovo, even though it's a better one, the heat distribution system is this tiny little fan. It's not very robust. In the business class ones, first, much larger fan, much larger heat pipes. And the heat pipes are what help bring the heat away from the internal components to the vent on the side and vent it out. The other thing you notice, there is a lot of metal in this. The whole thing has metal inside of it. It's plastic metal, and even where it's plastic, instead of being a flat plastic, they have it structurally beveled so each one turns. So it's got this entire structure to it to hold it all together. So this is just a substantially better made, because even with the cover off like this, there is just no give. This is a dead one, so I'm going to try and break it. No give, which means, let's pick it up by the screen. It doesn't give, it doesn't crack. The plating, the metal that the hinges actually go into, are super solid. And because of that, this was a more expensive to build laptop because, well, as we know, you print things out of cheap plastic, they're inexpensive to build. When you start making them out of metal like this, they are a very solid. It's going to hold up. It's going to be able to take a lot more damage. A fall off the bed is less likely, but not completely unlikely, to break it. So you end up with these better, higher quality boards. The heat distribution, everything about them is another notch up. That's why used, a 4-year-old used one of these still goes for $300 to $400. I have an HP EliteBook. It's a 5-year-old laptop that is still faster than probably half the ones you can even find at Best Buy, and the reason why is at the day they built it, it was a very highly spec'd laptop. My laptop was $2,200 new. And even myself, I usually don't buy them new. I usually buy them refurbished myself and wait till the price comes down a little bit, but they're substantially faster. But people think you have to go out and buy a new one. That only depends. The refurbished ones, if you get like an i5, is going to be substantially faster than a 229 one that you found at the big box store, even though it's 4 years old. So this is just kind of my quick overview of why you shouldn't get some of the cheaper laptops, especially because they just don't hold up. People are like, oh, my kid wore out the last one last time. I'm like, yeah, kids can be a little rough on them, and they open and close them. They take them to all their college classes. These hinges on these cheap ones just won't hold up. If you're open and closing, they're so soft. It's a race to the bottom. They've made them with such cheap plastic, they won't hold up. But you take something like this, yes, it's heavier. Well, metal's heavier than plastic, but the solid nature of it, the rigidity and everything makes it a better purchase. It's going to last you longer. And if you buy one that's faster, even though it's a few years old, it's still faster than a newer computer. So that's kind of a short summary of why you can buy refurbished computers that are better than brand new ones, and why you should consider them when you're looking at a purchase, and why we sell them used for $300 versus why you can go buy a brand new one at, you know, whatever Black Friday sale for $199 coming up. So that's, like I said, my idea. I just want to cover that with people so you kind of have a better picture of why we recommend these laptops and what the differences are between them. Thanks.